Welcome to Executive Leaders Radio, your spot in the corner office, the radio show where executives share their secrets to success. Executive Leaders Radio.
You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Coyne, with my co-hosts, including Shannon Lane, Newmark Knight Frank, Drew Hanlon, Pat Riley, USI, Frank Hennessy, Premier Planning, Matthew Shapiro, Obermeyer, and Ethan Milrod, GoTo. Let's see. Matthew, could you give me a rundown on who's going to be on the air with us today?
Sure, Ken. We have a great show coming up, Herb. We're starting off with Katie Taylor, the founder and CEO of Savvy Custom Gifts. After that, we have Matt Coyne, president and creator of the M&A Mastery Program, followed by Silvia Lucci, the founder of LUHV. And we're wrapping up today with Norm McMahon, the president of PayAll Solutions.
Let's take to our first guest, Katie Taylor, founder and CEO of Savvy Custom Gifts. Katie, what is Savvy Custom Gifts? What are you guys doing?
Savvy Custom Gifts designs, ships, and packages extraordinary gifts. So we take things that are ordinary and make them bigger.
Where you from originally, and how large or small was that town, and how many brothers and sisters?
I'm originally from a small town known as Brownsville, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. I have one brother who I'm an adopted, and the town was probably about 3,000 to 4,000 people. It seemed huge when I was young, though.
Mm-hmm. So you were adopted. How large was the family you were adopted into ultimately?
Myself as an only child, and my brother who was already moved out.
Didn't you mention you were one of 6 or something like that?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I have 5 other biological brothers.
All right. Just wanted to get the whole picture there. And tell me, growing up in that environment where you were adopted and you were really one of 6, how'd that make you feel?
Like I really didn't know where I fit in the world.
Interesting. We'll come back to that word fit. Tell me about the neighborhood you grew up in and how open and accepting was that environment?
I actually grew up in a very nice neighborhood across from a vineyard. And the thing I remember is that people would throw the newspapers at us when we came out the door, the newspaper girl, and said, "Here, you niggers."
Why would they? So you were one of the few black families in the neighborhood?
No, that was just who the newspaper girl was.
Interesting. Tell me a little bit more about what was going on back then. You mentioned you were at the top of the class, but yet you felt you couldn't you weren't recognized for what you were doing and how hard you were working. Is that true?
Yes. I worked very hard. I worked so hard. I brought home every book to become valedictorian of the class. I was tied for valedictorian. And then before the ceremony, I was told that the other person I was tied with was going to be valedictorian.
So what did that do to you? How's that playing out nowadays, the fact that you weren't recognized for the hard work and what you were accomplishing? How's that playing out in terms of you running your own business?
It's the place where basically nobody can tell me no, that I get to do and be anybody I want to be. And I get to give everybody else the joy and opportunity and creativity so that they can do and be whoever they want to be. The sky's the limit.
So as opposed to you being angry and pissed off and taking it out on the world, you created your own business. And in fact, you're providing opportunity for everybody else. In fact, your whole business is helping people feel special because of these gifts. Am I correct about that?
That's absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. Drew?
Katie, I want to go back to the racism that you noticed at a young age. What did you remember about that at that time, and what's the impact of that today?
At the time, I remember asking to be with the brownies and then being told that no niggers were allowed on the brownies. So the impact of that for me was that life is a very lonely place. You can do what you do, you can do all the work, but you're kind of on your own.
And what was the impact to your leadership today and how that's impacted what you're doing today?
At first, to be honest, I was a very bad leader because I thought that everybody was supposed to do everything on their own. I didn't understand that you could actually build a team. And so after I learned about building a team and did a lot of transformational work, then the team is growing and we're doing everything we want to do.
Ethan?
Katie, can you remember back to the first thing that you created and how young were you when you did that?
Yes, I was somewhere between 11 and 13 years old, and I knew how to crochet, and I made these booties, and I changed the design, and then I made it so that I could put monogrammed initials into these booties with pom-poms. And I was selling those for $25 a pop.
So not only were you a creator, but an entrepreneur too. Where did you get that entrepreneurial spirit from? And how does that show up with what you're doing nowadays?
I think I got that from my mom, who ran a small restaurant. And I also see it in that this will be my third business that I've started and operated.
Mm-hmm. Matthew?
Yeah, I'm curious. You've turned what you call extraordinary gifts into a whole business model. Tell me, when you're 8 to 14, is there a particularly memorable gift you gave or received, or what was it about gifts that hit you?
Well, what I liked about making these gifts is that it brought a lot of joy, and it also brought money. It meant that I could be independent. And so it put me in charge of my life. And so I was able to buy the first VIC-20 computer, which was the hottest thing. And I bought it with my own money. I bought my own real leather boots with my own money.
Mm-hmm. Shannon?
So I was in charge.
Katie, when you were in grade school and you were dealing with this racism, was there anyone that, took you under their wing and helped you out?
Not necessarily in the school, but I do know that outside of the school, those very same people who were throwing newspapers, I got to be in the newspapers because the Rotary Club and the Daughters of American Revolution organizations kept honoring me, and I got my name and my pictures in the newspaper.
Katie, what did that mean to you?
It meant that I was on the right path, that I was doing what was good and right, even if nobody else was going to give me that credit.
Pat?
You said you had a great relationship with your older brother growing up. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
My older brother taught me that we could talk about anything because we talked about anything. So it taught me how to relate to other people and how to talk to other people. And my people who hear me say I can pretty much talk to anybody and sell to anybody. So later in life, I actually cold called and reached one of the VPs over at Fresh Express. No problem.
So you'd say that has a pretty big impact on your business today?
Of course. Yes, I can talk to anybody at any time.
Mm-hmm. Frank?
So, Katie, you come across as being totally authentic and really knowing who you are. But you told us knowing that you were adopted made you feel like you didn't know where you fit in life. Tell me more about that.
Is that being adopted, not knowing if the things that were happening in my world were because I was adopted or whether there was something in my mind wrong with me, caused a lot of pain in hindsight because I then didn't know my own value. And in building a business and trying to get to success, if you don't know your value, then other people can take advantage of that. Whereas now, after a lot of transformational work, I learned my value. And the second you learn your value, the money follows. Wow. You have to become the leader before you actually see the success.
So what do you mean by transformational work? What are you talking about?
I've taken a lot of transformational courses, including Landmark Forum, a lot of self-help books, a lot of reading, a lot of podcasts. And you have to, in my opinion, learn how to transform what is the everyday where you just go in and say that somebody else is controlling your life. And then you have to take charge of not just your outer world, like I did with making money at 13, but also your inner world, which is even more important because your mindset controls your entire future. So it really isn't those people who said those bad words. It's what you think about what they said that actually makes the difference.
So you believe by working on yourself, you're working on the business.
Correct.
Tell me more about that.
Is that when you work on yourself, when you change how your worldview is, then everything else changes. So if you say to me, hey, would you like to be on this radio show? Oh, wait, you did say that. And I think, hey, I'm not valuable enough. Then I might say, maybe that's for somebody else. Whereas when you know your own value and your own worth, then you can sit in the room with anyone and be present and provide value and actually receive value from everybody else.
Mm-hmm. How's this affecting your building the business and building the team and your client relations?
Well, in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, which has been quite scary for everybody, this company has taken in over 30 new clients.
Wow. And do you think you're going to continue to work on yourself until you pass?
Yes, absolutely.
Why? It's hard work, isn't it?
Yes, but the alternative is having somebody else be in charge of your life or putting a ceiling on how much you grow.
What's the website address for this organization known as Savvy Custom Gifts?
Yes, it's savvycustomgifts.com.
savvycustomgifts.com. We've been speaking with Katie Taylor, founder and CEO of Savvy Custom Gifts. Give me that URL one more time, please.
savvycustomgifts.com.
We've been speaking with Katie Taylor, founder and CEO of Savvy Custom Gifts here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website. It's executiveleadersradio.com. To learn more about our executive leaders, we will be back in a moment right after this quick break.
Recognize your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, Executive Leaders Radio. Yes, you can recognize your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, executiveleadersradio.com. Simply visit executiveleadersradio.com, securely enter their info, and we'll reach out to spotlight your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, executiveleadersradio.com. Don't wait. This radio and online social media and search engine exposure is quite valuable. Yes, this radio and online social media and search engine exposure is quite valuable to your business advisors who deserve to be recognized. Visit executiveleadersradio.com now to nominate your deserving business advisors for free exposure.
We're back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Matt Coyne, president and creator of Brandywine Mergers and Acquisitions and the M&A Mastery Program. Matt, what's that all about?
Well, for 20 years, I've been selling companies with Brandywine Mergers and Acquisitions. And then recently, I've been building on my national speaking program and my flagship program, which is the M&A Mastery Program, which helps financial advisors help their clients sell so they can invest the money.
Ah, I get it. And where you're from originally, and how many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
Suburban Philadelphia, great suburban neighborhood, Catholic group, went to Catholic school. I have, there's 5 in my family.
Mm-hmm. And where are you in the pecking order?
I'm number 4.
Number 4 of 5. All right, Frank.
Matt, you mentioned that from the time you were a kid until now, Catholic faith has been very important to you. Tell me what you mean.
Yeah, I went to Catholic school when I was a kid. I was a deeply religious young person. Went to Catholic high school. College, not so much. But I met a beautiful woman who also happened to be Catholic. On our first weekend, one of the things we did, we went to church together, which wasn't what we always did. That's blossomed in our life. We've had a lot of blessings. We have 7 kids. We just both graduated from St. Charles Seminary with master's degree in theology last year. Lisa and I both did. And I was ordained a Catholic deacon at the time.
So you're a deacon. What's important about faith to you?
Faith is the center of my life. It's been the center of our marriage. I didn't think I could do 7 years at the seminary. We got had different plans. I had the best 7 years of my business life while I was studying for a master's degree at the same time. The biggest deal we ever did, we closed it while I was on my retreat to be ordained.
So what's the connection about delivering sermons every Sunday and bringing together buyers and sellers for businesses?
I think it's the nature. In my view, we're creators. God's a creator, right? We're co-creators with God. When you ask someone to sell a company, you're asking them to stop creating. It doesn't feel right to the human. And that's what I do. I deal with people separating from it's very difficult for people to separate from their life's work. And I believe we're creators. Image and likeness of God is what we are.
Drew?
Matt, what was your relationship with your older brother?
My older brother, he was a character. My older brother was smarter, more talented, better writer than I am. But he ran into some issues, made some bad decisions in his life, which I'm sure he regrets. And he just never really did everything he could have done with his gifts.
What's the impact of watching that happen?
He kind of took the air out of the room when I was growing up. But, it allowed me, and I have real supportive parents, great parents. They just allowed me to just do what I did. But he showed me what not to do, right? And it's to show somebody what to do and what not to do.
And what is the lessons that you bring to work every day from your older brother?
Keep your nose clean.
Shannon?
In the green room, you mentioned that you were kind of the middleman in between your younger brother and your older brother. I'm curious how that has to do with anything, how that relates to what you're doing at the M&A Mastery Program today.
I think the nature of even within the whole family, I try to be a bridge builder. That's what I'm comfortable doing. I try to see everybody's point of view because everybody has one, even when it's difficult times.
Well, what's that have to do with being a successful M&A advisor?
I'll tell you, all of our deals, every deal has fur all over it. If a deal was easy, they wouldn't need me. So my job is to find the path.
It's to build the bridge. Interesting. All right, Ethan.
Matt, take us back to when you were 8 to 14. Can you paint a picture of what your neighborhood was like for the listening audience?
Yeah, I was a happy kid. We played football outside, went ice skating outside. We'd gather together. I just remember having a happy childhood.
What was your role, would you say, in the neighborhood?
I was the one to I was the one to start the game. To get the football. Let's go.
Who chose you as the leader, and why?
I did, because I wanted to go play.
What's
that? How does that have to do with what you're doing today, Matt?
I'm an entrepreneur, self-starter. Got to get up in the morning. We eat what we kill.
Mm-hmm. Matthew?
Yeah, I hear the importance of family in your life, Matt. Tell me about mom and dad a little bit.
Mom and dad, Scranton-born Catholics, good people, solid people, compassionate people, gave us everything they had to give us and still doing it today.
And which one is more important in kind of teaching you how to run a business and who you are when you run a business?
Well, my father was a financial advisor for 41 years. He could close the month from a Friday morning standing start. He was an incredible salesperson. So from the business side, yes, on that side. My mother is an incredible networker. She has so many friends, knows everybody in town. So a little combo there.
Mm-hmm.
My father gave me the analysis. I started the M&A Mastery Program with financial advisors because I have an affinity for financial advisors because I grew up in a family that went, I know what financial advisors do. Mm-hmm. I know how hard they work. Mm-hmm. I know what their life's like. And I've been through bad markets as a kid. We ate a lot of macaroni and cheese. And I thought London broil was a heck of a good cut of steak during some tough times in the 70s.
Matt, did you play any sports in high school?
I did. I was a golfer. I peaked. I joke. I peaked in high school, and I played in college too.
And what kind of life lessons did golf teach you?
It did. I belonged to a country club, and I was a caddy in the morning, and I was a golfer in the afternoon. And it took the fear of powerful, wealthy people out of my life because I just saw them as people.
Is that what helped you to start the M&A practice?
It definitely comes in handy because I work for some pretty successful, pretty powerful people who are not used to people telling them which way to turn. And I do that because I'm not afraid of them.
Matthew?
You told us earlier about your older sisters, and I think they're adopted. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how that happened?
I have two older sisters, both adopted. One was a very sudden adoption. My parents were given a call, and they didn't hesitate to take this child. They were open. They didn't have any children at the time. They had nothing. They had no crib, no nothing. And they just said, we'll take her because that's the kind of people they are. And my second sister, who I grew up with, they called us the twins. She was more of a planned adoption through Catholic Social Services, but they're both just my sisters.
And I'm really struck by that story of someone just calling in with your older sister and saying, take a child just like that. What made your parents so special that they were asked to do that?
I think the doctor knew that they were the kind of people who would answer the phone and take a child with no notice. Not a lot of people would do that. My parents did. Mm-hmm. And they do it again today. And
how does that lesson from your parents have to do with running a business?
I try to look at all people the same way. I mean, everybody's a child of God. Everybody's welcome in my home. Everybody's welcome in my business. I take clients that most people wouldn't take because I see the opportunity in everybody. I can see it.
Mm-hmm. Frank, what else are you thinking?
Matt, it's a great story. I don't have anything to add to that, my friend.
Uh-huh. Matt, if we were doing a good interview with you, what are we missing? What don't we know about you? How we mischaracterized you?
The Matt Coyne of today is I'm really transitioned into a preacher. I spend a lot of time preaching. Hardest thing I've ever done, getting up in front of a church. We have 4,600 families. And trying to help people on their faith journey, trying to help them get to heaven. There's no bigger challenge in life.
I wanted to ask a question about that. Sure. It's interesting you brought it up. Like, why do you like to do that? What do you get out of that?
That's a great question. People always ask me, how'd you end up in the seminary? I have no idea. I think that's how God works, right? But I do think that God gives everybody talents, and I try to use the talents I'm given. I'm preaching a homily at Christmas that I wrote 3 years ago. I pulled it up. I have no idea where that homily came from.
You look forward to that, though, right?
Oh, I do. I mean, when you preach to, you're preaching it from 4 years old to 84.
Yeah, and
try that for speaking.
That? Like, how does stepping on stage and being able to give a really impactful, meaningful speech like that, how does that help you as a business leader?
Well, if you can pull it off in a church on Sunday, my M&A presentations are like, I could do those in my sleep compared to this.
Matt, you got 7 kids. What have you learned from them that you bring to work every day?
They teach me a lot. Especially during the pandemic. We had 6 of the 7 home at the same time, and some of them are adults. And they teach me that there's a big world out there. I don't know everything, and I learn from them every day. And they're hardworking, and they got punched in the gut this summer, and they're all fighting back. And I'm fighting back too. That's why I launched my M&A Mastery program. I went downstairs and I said, Dad's going to build something new during this time. And they knew Dad I recorded 41 lectures, if you will, 41 courses. And they knew Dad was recording downstairs. And I hope that gave him some inspiration to get up and do something different.
Matt, what's the website address for Brandywine Mergers Acquisitions, the M&A Mastery Program?
It's bma1.com.
Let me have that again.
B as in boy, M as in Mary, A as in apple, the number 1.com.
We've been speaking with Matt Coyne, president and creator of Brandywine Mergers and Acquisitions and the M&A Mastery Program here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com, to learn more about our executive leaders. We'll be back in a moment, right after this quick break. Back, you're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Cohen. We'd like to introduce Silvia Lucci, who's the founder of LUHV. Silvia, what is LUHV? What are you guys up to?
LUHV is an award-winning manufacturing company of nutritional vegan food.
And where are you from originally? How many brothers and sisters? Where are you in the pecking order?
I'm originally from Argentina, and I have an older brother, and I was the baby sister.
All righty. Drew.
Silvia, you told us a story about riding the bus when you were 6 to school. Can you tell us that?
Yes, we were actually very poor when I grew up, and I called extremely poor. So my mother decided that education was very important. She was an immigrant from Italy, and she decided that education will set us free. So she lied the address of where we lived, and so we were going to the most important public school in the state, but I had to travel 40 minutes in a bus since the moment I was 6 years old.
Was that scary doing that at 6?
You know, I started going with my brother, so he was 3 years older. But then when he couldn't go, I just had to go. And this was public transportation.
Was that scary?
It was very scary.
What did you learn from that experience? Has anything to do with who you are nowadays in growing this business?
Well, you know, I learned about people. I would attach myself to people in the buses and motherly lookings or whatever. So I speak with everybody, and it allowed me to know the world because you.
What's that have to do with building a business?
Because it gave me the sense of responding to people's needs. I could see people's needs. I could see.
What's responding to people's needs have to do with building a business?
That's what it's all about. It's a business is to satisfy a need. And I was able to catch that through the whole world spectrum.
I just wanted to make sure I understood. Ethan?
Silvia, how young were you when you came to the United States? And why?
I was 23 years old. I fell in love with a man, which is my partner for the last 33 years. And in 5 months, I took a plane by myself with nothing, and just moved to another country. It's just for looking for more.
Where would you say you got the courage and confidence to do that?
I think I just, all my upbringing was a constant level of courage. That was the thing in my parents is like, fear nothing. Just always be resourceful, always be careful and research. And in a way,
It sounds like that's a common theme in your life and in your world. Did that help you establish Love Foods too?
Definitely. Love Food it comes from a natural experience, but it was a response to help other people reach healthy lives.
Matthew?
Wait, I don't get that. You're doing nutritional vegan food to help other people. You think there's a need there. Tell me where that comes from. Where did the idea show up?
Well, 7 years ago, I had a mild stroke that really created a lot of crisis in my family. Actually, we ended up in bankruptcy, and my whole life as it was, the perfect American immigrant was destroyed. And then I realized what this food that my husband, which is a culinary genius, has created for me. And people start in our stores asking for my food because they will say, my daughter had cancer. Can I buy your food? My husband has a heart attack. Can I buy your foods? Because my neighbors have seen what happened to me. And I realized there was a need to have nutritional food that will taste good. So you will not get punished to get healthier.
Pat?
You mentioned in the green room that your brother was a role model for you growing up and that you always saw him as a protector. What does that have to do with your food business today?
My brother there was a lot of issues in our family. My family was a very strange family. He dealt with a lot of mental issues too. So my brother was the person that was cared. He cared for me. I was my source. He was my friend. I know he was my brother, but he was my friend. And love, it became the same concept. I knew it was a way to take care of others.
Mm-hmm. Shannon?
Silvia, take us back to ages 8 to 14 in Argentina. What was going on for fun?
Well, there was fun was very limited. We were in the dictatorship, and there was I live a completely different life than most people. And interesting enough, my mother didn't let us go to sports. We didn't have money, but whatever sense she had, she sent us to study English. Weird. We were the weird people in the neighborhood. But actually, I became funny. A way to fit in. It was through humor. I was able to, wasn't the clown, but I had this very dry humor that will attract people, and it allowed me to fit in with the rest of the group.
And in the green room, you mentioned that you had to be funny to survive. What did you mean by that?
Because poverty is a very big detriment when you are going to the best schools surrounded by everybody that has wealth and money, and you couldn't fit in, you couldn't bring it to your house, you couldn't ask people, so through humor, I became popular, and I was funny, and I was invented, and I created that persona that will charm.
So you felt a great deal of discrimination when you were a child. What's that have to do with your building this business?
Well, actually, the whole goal of love is about inclusiveness, and it's about making a change in the world. And so the whole it is purposely to me to have just something that would make a difference in people's life, and
Frank?
not just the wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Silvia, you mentioned several times about the poverty and difficult times growing up in Argentina. How did that shape you? Did you recognize it back then?
It's funny. I didn't because my mother made me feel. We never felt like we were poor because she was extremely creative in the way we did things. But the thing that it gave me, and it was just pointed out to me recently, is my resilience. I just get up. And people don't realize 7 years ago, we lost millions of dollars, everything. And we just get up. And that's what immigrants do. They start from zero. And now during the pandemic, it was exactly the same. It hit us. And I just brought my inner immigrant and I said, what are we going to do now? And then
Why did you come to the States?
I actually came to the States because my husband that I met in 3 months, and I completely fall in love with him, was living in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Drew?
Yeah, I'm just curious, the one lesson, I know you have some kids, Silvia, the one lesson that you hope your kids get from your mom.
To think about outside the box, to love themselves and to love others. The name of it has a lot to do with that. I love people. I'm surprised by people, and I want my kids, if I wish them something, is that they love and that they're loved. That's the only thing we want.
You mentioned that that you have an immigrant story. What are you specifically talking about?
Well, immigrants have usually are seen as some kind of, it's watched as a detriment. And I always make the point to talk that I am an immigrant. This is a country of immigrants. It's the nature of this country to be.
Didn't you mention that that when you came to this country, all of a sudden there was no ceiling? You were able to something.
Exactly. I could reinvent myself in whatever I wanted, and I learned that the only limits that I could put to myself was me. This was the country of freedom. I came from no freedom.
Wait. Hold on. The only limits you could put on yourself were you? What are you talking about?
Well, you can reach as far as you can reach. You can push yourself as far as you can reach, and it's okay to any goals that you want to acquire, but. It is beautiful to know that the ceiling is open to dream as high as you can dream. And now I'm the owner of a company, and I have, when people say, "Oh, are you going to retire? When are you going to sell?" No, I just have so much more to do, and I'm 56 years old.
Mm-hmm. What's the website address of this organization known as Love Food, and how do you spell that?
It's LUHVfood.com. It's LUHVFOOD.
.com. Let me have that one more time.
LUHVfood.com. LUHVFOOD.com.
We've been speaking with Silvia Lucci, founder of Love Food, here on Executive Leaders Radio. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com, to learn more about our executive leaders. Back in a moment.
You now can recognize your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, executiveleadersradio.com. Yes, you can recognize your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, executiveleadersradio.com. Simply visit executiveleadersradio.com, securely enter their info, and we'll reach out to spotlight your deserving business advisors on our nation's leading Business with Heart radio show, executiveleadersradio.com. Don't wait. This radio and online social media and search engine exposure is quite valuable to your advisors. Yes, this radio and online social media exposure is free and quite valuable to your business advisors who deserve to be recognized. Visit executiveleadersradio.com now to nominate your deserving business advisors.
Back. You're listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is your host, Herb Coyne. We'd like to introduce Norm McMahon, president of PayAll Solutions. Norm, what is PayAll Solutions?
PayAll Solutions is a payroll processing company, proprietary software focusing on the large and the larger client.
Mm-hmm. And where you're from originally, how many brothers and sisters, and where are you in the pecking order?
I was raised in a suburb of Philadelphia. There are 8 people in our family, 7 boys and 1 girl, and I'm second from the top.
All righty. Ethan, give me a hand.
Lauren, wow, that's a big family. What was that like around the dinner table with so many kids?
Well, Ethan, it was chaotic, for one thing. Every people of all ages, 7 boys and a girl, everyone speaking, everyone talking. But what it taught us was that my parents were great. Everyone got an opportunity to speak. 8 children had 8 different personalities and age groups. So everyone got an opportunity to speak. What you had to say was important. It was listened to, and it gave you confidence to speak up and say what was on your mind.
Yeah, that must have been special with everybody having their own time. How did that help you in what you're doing today, Norm?
It gave me confidence to pursue my goals my dreams. I know that what I had to do, what I thought was important to me fulfilling my own objectives in life by following my own thought process.
Mm-hmm. Frank?
Norm, I grew up near you. I'm wondering, what did you do for fun?
We were outside every day. My mother would say to us, go outside and don't come in until it's dinner time. So we'd ride our bikes all over the neighborhood. We played football, basketball, baseball. We had the most kids. So everything happened in our yard.
All right, so playing sports, what personality trait did you bring to the team?
Competitiveness, focus, learning how to be a member of a team. You didn't always win. It was great to win, but you didn't always win.
And what's that got to do with delivering exceptional efficiencies and services at PayAll?
Well, there's a lot to do because when we talk to clients, Frank, we're talking to larger companies that are dealing with bigger organizations. We're a small company with big technology. So in that regard, we're trying to help them get something they don't have. So for us to win, we've got to provide a service that the bigger companies are failing at that we can provide to that client.
Mm-hmm. Drew?
Norm, what would your family, your brothers and sisters tell us about you?
That I'm the organizer, that I'm serious, that I'm the person they look to when things have to be done, have to be pulled together from the family perspective, a problem in the family, our mom and dad, those kind of things. As an organizer and a leader and a decision maker, what's the best course to take? They would come to me.
What's that mean to you, that they would come to you?
Well, it's something I take seriously because I know that it exists. And in some ways, I've helped every one of my family in one way or another through a difficult situation, sometimes financial, sometimes emotional. But it means a lot to me that they look at me that way, and I take it very seriously.
Why do you do that? Why do you offer that service?
Because it's the right thing to do. Someone has a need, and I want to provide for that need.
Mm-hmm. What's that have to do with what you're doing nowadays for a living?
Well, it's very interesting, Herb. I think that as you bring life into business, we get to a client, and these are successful companies with hundreds of employees, sometimes thousands of employees, but their payroll process is not going correctly. So we're helping them get something they can't get from a larger company. And in payroll, you've got to get the right people are working for their money. It's very critical to me that the right amount goes into the right bank account on the right day, and that we do this correctly because that is their money and they're working.
It sounds to me like the same way that the dinner table was a bit chaotic and it sort of bothered you that way, and your nature is to organize stuff. It's the same thing as walking into a new client and help them organize everything.
Yes.
Matthew?
And Norm, how young were you when you started making money?
7 or 8, working for my dad in the pharmacy.
Was that his pharmacy?
It was his pharmacy. My grandfather's before him.
How many years did you work there?
Until I got out of college. We ran medicine all over the main line.
What do you mean you ran medicine all over the main line? Tell me about that.
So we would organize the packages packages of medicine in those days will be delivered to the home of the customer. We will go to the one end of the main line in the morning, one end of the main line in the afternoon. My dad had a rule: don't bring it back. Call as many times as you want. There were not cell phones in those days, but don't bring it back. So you learn to deliver and be successful because somebody was waiting for that medicine. So I organized the deliveries as I got older.
That organizing is obviously a theme with you. I'm curious, was your father a good organizer in the pharmacy or a bad organizer in the pharmacy?
He was a very good organizer, but he also learned to delegate. And I learned that from my dad, Matt, that if there are other people in an organization, sometimes they're younger than you are, who can help you provide some element to the business that maybe you don't do as well, help you delegate, give them the confidence and give them the authority to handle that job and do it well.
Mm-hmm. Shannon.
Norm, tell us about your mom and what she was like when you were growing up.
My mom was the most positive person I knew, and she was confident, upbeat, outgoing. With 7 boys, she was a great mother for guys because she never held a grudge. It was over. But she was black and white with a bunch of boys. Right was right and wrong was wrong. And if you were wrong, you were wrong. And in 2 minutes, it was over. And then she was back to her positive self. She never held a grudge. She was a wonderful person. And I learned that optimism and confidence from her, that you can pursue what you want to do, and there's nothing that can't be overcome. Hard work, determination, and focus.
So, Norm, when you're facing a tough decision at work and struggling with something, what do you hear your mom telling you?
Be confident, think it through. Stay calm, be confident, think it through, and then choose a course of action that works for everyone involved and follow it. Be confident in your decision.
Norm, did you have any influential teachers growing up?
I did, Matt. I had actually for me at Malvern Prep, where I went to school. When I lived, my teachers who became my coaches, that dual role that they played was very important to me. That they could see me in a different role outside the classroom, especially in a class I may not have been so good at, like math. that I could see them as a different person. They could see me as a different person. And I gain respect for them, and I think they gain respect for me. So I really enjoy my teachers who are coaches.
And how do you think that carries over to what you're doing today, competing against, some big national firms that might not have a face?
Well, I think it helps in a couple of ways. Actually, within my organization, my employees are primarily programmers and technical people, and they're different than I am. But I can see the value in them because without them, I wouldn't have a business. And their attitude to me is, yes, well, this can be done because in the clients we talk to, they're dealing with big companies, and they're saying that, okay, the checks and direct deposits, but I can't get integration usually to this functional area that I need that they're not providing for. Our attitude is it can be done. What do you need us to do, and how do you need it to be done for your company? My programmers are telling me we can do this. This is great. And I rely on them and depend on them in a different light from me to get that done and deliver to the client.
Mm-hmm. Who's got the next question for Norm?
Norm, did you tell us when you were at Malvern Prep that you used to kind of look up to some of the parents that would come through there?
I did, Drew. In fact, the parents, and this helped me as an entrepreneur. The people I admired most were entrepreneurs. My friends, the friends that I had, most of their parents were entrepreneurs in one way, shape, or form, different businesses, but they were successful people. They had independence. They followed their dreams, but they had the ability to make their own decisions and grow as much as they wanted to. They were successful because they drove themselves to the limits that they wanted to go to. And I admired that in the people that I met, even at a young age.
Think back on that, and it's interesting where you're at today, to think back on that now, right? I mean,
it definitely had a big impact on me, a huge impact. My father-in-law, my father, my grandfather, and the fathers of my friends.
One other thing I was curious about too was, you're the guy that everybody comes to for advice and leans on. Who do you lean on?
My wife.
Why's that?
And actually, right now, my children, we have 3 grown children, 2 boys and 2 girls and a boy, wonderful people.
So you're saying you go to your children for advice?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes because they're in their 30s, they're adults, they're successful professionals in their own right. Sometimes they have a perspective, especially in today's world, that I may not appreciate until I hear it from them. Because I love them and respect them, I listen to them.
Matthew, what else were you thinking?
I was wondering how young you were when you knew you were an organizer.
Oh, Matthew, probably 8 or 9.
And tell me how did you realize it? What was it?
Well, in our house, I was the second oldest of 8 kids. I had organized. My mom could depend on me she was taking care of the baby, which was usually the case, to organize the kids that we were playing outside, riding bikes. Ride your bike outside, but don't, be careful what you're doing. Don't go too far. Know when you're in, don't make good decisions. Keep everybody together. Don't let anybody wander off. I would play that role of making sure that everybody did what they needed to do, got home in time for lunch or dinner, and my brothers and mostly my brothers and my little sister at the time, we were organizing together and things went the way they should for my parents.
That sounds like it's a combination of organizing, but also a lot of responsibility and a lot of forethought. Am I correct about that?
I think, Herb, yes. And I never minded that. Anywhere I went, I actually became, I was a doer. I got involved. I got organized. And I always achieved and exceeded what was expected. So I did that from my family from day one. And my brothers and sisters see me that way. They saw me that way then. My parents did. Mm-hmm. Even in my parents' later years, they depended on me for a lot of things.
Cool. And what's the website address for this organization known as PayAll Solutions?
PayAll Solutions, PayAll Solutions.com, PayAllSolutions.com.
We've been speaking with Norm McMahon, president of PayAll Solutions here on Executive Leaders Radio. And Matthew, can you give us a rundown on who else we've had the opportunity of talking with?
Yeah, it's been a great show today, Herb. We started off with Katie Taylor, the founder and CEO of Savvy Custom Gifts. After that, we had Matt Coyne, the president and creator of the M&A Mastery Program. We had Silvia Lucci, the founder of Love Food. And just now we wrapped up with Norm McMahon, the president of PayAll Solutions.
I would like to thank my co-hosts, including Shannon Lane, Newmark Knight Frank, Drew Hanlon, Pat Riley, USI, even Frank Hennessy from Premier Planning, Matthew Shapiro, Obermeyer, and Ethan Milrod go-to for giving me a hand, helping me structure the questions, and hopefully providing our listening audience an educational and entertaining show. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com, to learn more about our executive leaders, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.